You're watching It's Life Live with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go. What's up, everybody?
Hey. It's Juan and Oliver back again. It is Wednesday night, and it is interesting enough. This is a day that this is a recording. So we want you all to please feel free to engage. But this is Wednesday, February the 14th episode that we wanted you to have. We want to be committed to our Wednesday night, but our topic is going to be so interesting that we had to have something in this spot. It is February the 14th, 2024, and it's Wednesday night. And so before we get into that, just if you are here for the first time, welcome to It's Life Live, which is not live tonight. It is recorded. But this is where we are every Wednesday night. And we didn't want this to be any different for the commitment that we've made. So this is what this is. But welcome. If you're back, thank you for coming back. If you're new, we appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us. My name is Juan Lee, along with Oliver Marcel, and we are from Clear Journey. We are about Clear Journeys, a nonprofit organization that supports you in all of your challenges in life. If you're looking for support, you're looking for directions, any type of encouragement in any area of life, that's what Clear Journey is all about. We're here to support you in your journey through life. And today's episode is no differently. We have been talking about finances in general here at Clear Journey and at It's Life Live. And tonight is not going to be any different, but we're going to throw a little bit of a twist into it because it's going to be how relationships and finances end up coming together and how we manage those things, because this is something that happens every year. It's called Valentine's Day. And so many of us experience it and use it and go through it and handle it in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. So Oliver is the expert in relationships. And so he's one of our strategic partners, has always been here with us. And tonight he's going to navigate this for us, going to show us and share us what relationships and how it impacts. Our title is Love, Money, Valentines, and how money affects our relationships. So without further ado, let's get to it, Oliver. Let's talk about it.
Let's get to it because, and we've talked about this in some of the other episodes, depending on who you subscribe to in the way of statistics and things around marriage and relationships, money ends up either in the top 3, top 5, or top 7 things that cause detriment to a relationship. And so obviously it is a crucial component. There are many relationships that do not survive based on how they have viewed, how they have handled, how they have managed their finances in one way or the other. And so this is fitting because we're now on a day that is very highly commercialized around the ideology of celebrating love, right? Now, let me just get controversial from the jump. How about that? I don't. I'm not gonna be one of those people that say I don't believe, in air quotes, about Valentine's Day. However, I don't put the same level of energy behind it that some others do. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is a spoiler alert. So I'm kind of skipping to the end with this. But for me, what I often see, and because I'm in the relationship space and have the privilege of coaching individuals and coming alongside couples, what I see is many people put a significant amount of energy into this day. So they're going to spend a ton of money. You're going to go to the best restaurant. You're going to get a whole bunch of flowers and balloons. You're going to get candy. You're going to buy gifts. You're going to buy jewelry. There's certain industries that know that for January and February they are going to do significantly well because of Valentine's Day. The issue is that many individuals, not all, I'm not throwing everybody under the bus, but there are some who only give that amount of energy in February. And the rest of the months, there is no intentionality around their relationship. So that's why I am not as gung ho, if you will, about that. Because listen, I'm not perfect by any means. However, I do try my best to be intentional all year long.
Hmm.
Does that mean I'm not going to do anything? I don't know. My wife, fortunately, is not as adamant as some women are. You have some women who there are a lot of folk who feel the necessity to put out the level of money and energy that they do because their relationship is on the line if they don't.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
if we're talking about money management, right? That is a horrifying uh, ideology that if I don't spend this amount of money, because you got folk on both ends of the spectrum. You got people on one end of the spectrum, they're gonna buy some flowers, they're gonna buy some candy, they're gonna buy a balloon. All right. They're out $30 maybe tops. But then you got folk who they are obligated to go all out. If you don't take me to this restaurant and I'm not talking about this restaurant where we normally go and spend $60. I'm talking about this restaurant. I'm talking about a restaurant where we're gonna spend $200 plus because this is a special night, and you're gonna give me some jewelry, and the list goes on and on. So you have people on one end of the spectrum spending, $10 to $30. You got people on another end of the spectrum spending 1,000 and more. Now, if you have to go into debt, let me get controversial again. If you have to go into debt, and I'm gonna qualify this after I say it. If you have to go into debt to secure the success of your relationship is already in trouble.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm in total agreement with you. I'm
Now,
in total agreement with you.
now let me qualify that.
I can
Now,
tell you some stories about that.
oh, bro, I'm telling you. Now, here's the thing. I am not saying that you should not gift and you should not be generous. Some people's love language is gifts, right? And so some people receive love in that way. But if we're keeping this under the umbrella of the things we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, and we've been talking about responsibility, we have been talking about discipline, and we have been talking about sacrifice, right?
Hmm.
So here's the thing with sacrifice. Sacrifice does not mean sacrificing the things that are necessary for the things that aren't. That's not sacrifice. Sacrifice is, and here's a true test for your relationship. Oh man, it's gonna be hard what I'm about to say because some folks they're not gonna agree with me. Here's a true test for your relationship. A true test for your relationship is for you to go to your significant other on a day like Valentine's Day and say, listen, babe, I love you and I am willing to go all out for you. However, based on the goals and the vision that we have for our relationship, we cannot spend $500 today. I will honor you. I will cherish you. I will shower you with words and affirmations and love and physical attention and affection, but we cannot spend $500. And you see what their reaction is, and based on their reaction, you might have some decisions to make.
Yeah, you have said a whole lot. And the thing about it is that you've got you've got to know going in to the
Hmm.
relationship
Hmm.
what's the relationship basis, what the basis
Yep.
of the relationship are.
Yep. Yep.
And see what happens is that these days give you some indicators
Hmm.
as to who you dealing with,
That's right.
because you made a statement as it relates to go to them on that day and say the issue, the object there is that this is not going to be conducive to some goals that we had.
Hmm.
If you don't have any goals, you can't have that conversation.
There you go. And that's
you
where we're
you
going.
can't have that conversation
You can't. That's right. You can't spring.
because
You can't spring that on them if you haven't done any planning in the first place.
yeah. So let's be clear. There's got to be some planning done so that when you get to these types of commercialization, these days that are basically trying to get you to get you off of your goals, you can't bring your goals up if you ain't got none.
Right.
And so that is essential, critical part to being able to understand that we're not going to allow the calendar to get us off of our goals.
Hmm.
Now, and this is still in stock. And I'm gonna tell you one thing that I think the biggest thing that we can do for one another, and this is the basis of any relationship, is to serve one another.
Hmm.
Don't cost you a penny,
Not at all.
but it's the one thing that they go without. They will never forget it. They will never forget it. If you
Hmm.
serve one another, you will. It will supersede anything because that's a gift in and of itself.
Yeah.
Servitude. If you will serve me, if I will, you talked about all the things I will do, I will do, but simply just say, I'm here for you. Guess what? Today is going to be, I'm going to be your servant. I'm
Hmm.
going to serve you without, and I mean, it could be as simple as making the meal because she normally always cooks.
Hmm.
It could be as simple as, you know what? I'm going to write you a letter.
Hmm.
I mean, my wife likes stuff like that. You know, she likes just little things like that.
Hmm.
It reminds me, I haven't done many of them recently, but yes, she does like things like that. But they're those, it's those simple things
Hmm.
that mean so much.
Yeah.
And it really begins to determine the value of the relationship because if it's all based on monetary things,
Hmm.
that could change.
In a heartbeat.
That could change. That's just like a physical thing. If it's all about physicality,
Hmm.
you ain't. It ain't if it's gonna change. It's gonna change.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah, and see if there's nothing that exceeds that, you're gonna run into some walls down the road.
Hmm.
And that's what this day brings up every year. It's like, okay, how are you going to manage this? How are you going to manage it? And
Hmm.
so that goal setting, that conversation is essential,
Yeah.
but it has to be preceded by a conversation that goes, okay, we're in this thing together, and we can't let this be the thing that breaks us.
Yeah. And that's the reason, speaking to how money affects relationships. That's a big reason why money affects relationships in the negative manner that it does is because many of these conversations do not happen ahead of time.
Mhm.
We don't know what the other person's view of money is. We don't know if the other person is a spender or a saver. We don't know if the other person has a healthy or unhealthy relationship with money. We don't know how they feel about holidays. We don't know whether their love language is gifts or not. There's just a myriad of things that we haven't taken the time to investigate ahead of time. So then when they come up, and I realize, okay, I think very differently than she does, that now brings in a level of conflict that is hard to gain resolution.
Yeah, to navigate
It,
because you're talking about two different um ends of the spectrum at that point. If I'm a spender and you're a saver,
Right.
okay. Um, I remember when my wife and I got married, it was my wife had debt. I
Hmm.
didn't have any debt. Okay. But that was the sign that, okay, if we're going to get together, for us to get together, we can't operate in this space called debt.
Hmm.
Okay. So that means that when we got married, we were going to spend our money getting her out of debt.
Hmm.
That was our money we were spending her to get her out of debt,
Hmm.
because we couldn't operate in that space called debt. But she could understand that, and we came in agreement to that point where, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And
Hmm.
so that's what we attacked when we first got married. I think, I mean, it was so interesting because the things that you're talking about, you know, we didn't have a honeymoon when we got married.
Hmm.
We've yet to have a honeymoon, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
27 years in.
Hmm. We're the same. We didn't have one either.
Okay, and so what I'm saying is, guess what we did? Remember we was talking about that thing last time? It was about a house.
Hmm.
We bought a house.
Hmm.
We got married. We've never rented. We spent one night in a hotel, 2 nights in a hotel when we got married,
Hmm.
and it was right here locally. And it was until our date. We couldn't close on our house until we were married.
Hmm.
And so once we got married, we took 2 days or so after that, went to closing. Next day we moved into our house.
Hmm.
So that was what we were. That's the goal, right?
Hmm.
So the point is that when something comes up, we'd already established some things that we'd had to do. So when these days like this came up, it
Hmm.
was like, that ain't on this conversation ain't even an issue.
Right. And
Because
what you're speaking to is priorities, man. And many of us have our priorities skewed. Now hear me. Those of you who might already be like, "Oh, I ain't trying to hear what you say." Listen, I'm not saying that you should not celebrate these days.
mm-mm,
That is
mm-mm,
very far from what we're saying.
mm-mm.
What we are saying though is that you need to be very cognizant of the vision you have. When we talk to couples often, we talk to couples about the very necessary component of your marriage, which is a marriage mission statement or vision statement. You need to know where you're going in your relationship, whether you're married, whether you're dating. You need to have some idea of where you're going and what your priorities are, right? So I know that there are some people who are like, "Oh, well, shoot, you better take me on a honeymoon." Okay, sure. What would you prefer? And I've heard this conversation often. Would you prefer me go into debt and buy you a $20,000 ring, or would you prefer me take that 20K and buy a house? Now, listen, if the ring is your priority, fine. We're not knocking you. Just understand that whatever you choose as your priority, you're going to have to now make sure you have a plan in place to sustain that.
To support it.
So if you're gonna buy a $20,000 ring, understand that you're gonna be paying for that ring over the course of the next several years. Is that something you want to do in light of all the other things that you're going to have to do? And if you can, hey, go forth and be great. But if that's going to put you in any level of discomfort, if that's going to cause any level of conflict, if that's going to set you back in some other areas that are technically more important, then you have some decision making that you need to do, right? And often days like Valentine's Day are often days where we feel obligated to put ourselves in a position that is actually going to be detrimental to us later on. Christmas is one of those. We talked about that, right? How many people go into thousands and thousands of dollars of debt at Christmas time and they're scrambling still now trying to figure out, okay, I'm still trying to pay this Christmas stuff off. And now I got Valentine's Day on top of that. Right. And so that's what we're saying. We're not saying don't celebrate. Listen, have fun
Mm-mm,
and love on
mm-mm.
your people, show them love, shower them with affection, do your thing, but also be wise.
And
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 and I,
and that,
and that being wise may require you to make some sacrifices.
Absolutely. I mean, and just to piggyback on that, it goes into the ultimate one day event in
Mm.
relationships.
Mhm.
In
Mm.
relationships, what's that ultimate day in relationship
A
that
wedding.
does that is? I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a wedding band,
Mhm.
the original one,
Mhm.
um, from 27 years ago.
Mhm.
My wife got her first wedding ring that was hers
Mhm.
probably after we had been married about 15 years because I gave her my parents' wedding ring.
Got you. Okay.
When we got married,
Mhm.
I gave her my mother's wedding band.
Got you. Mhm.
That was what she wore for our first 15 years.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until after our 15, we had been married 15 years or so, I bought her own
Mhm.
um, wedding band and engagement ring and all that stuff.
Mhm.
15 years in, again, it's priorities.
It's priority.
It wasn't like she was, I'm not wanting it. And the thing about it was, it was interesting because the reason why she didn't, she took it off is because of, it was when my dad passed.
Mm.
And at that point, um, there was, that was a legacy, that was an heirloom, that
Mhm.
ring.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that ring was the ring that my dad gave my mom
Mhm.
for all of our siblings. I mean, that was my mother for all of our siblings.
Mhm.
And we don't have any children.
Mhm.
So my wife and I agreed to give that ring to my brother to give to his son.
Got you. Okay.
And so it was that heirloom
Mhm.
that meant something. And we knew that it was fitting to pass that heirloom
Mhm.
to my brother so that he could present it to his son,
Mhm.
so that he could again to share it. Again, this
Mhm.
ring was not a $50,000 ring.
Mhm. Mhm.
This was a ring that my dad gave my mother back in 1955.
Mhm.
And that's when that legacy, that heirloom started. And so then I say all of that to say that it was meaningful things
Mhm.
that encompassed the relationship
Yep.
and not financial things.
Mhm.
Not the cost of it, because that ring probably couldn't have cost at the time he bought it. It probably couldn't have cost $100.
Yep. And here's what here's what you're talking about. If we're really so those of you who are not who are new to me, I need to share this with you. For those of you who are not, you probably know this already. I'm the type of coach that what I'm not going to do is mix words with you because I'm so passionate about seeing your relationship thrive that I'm not going to tell you that the sky is a shade of blue, and I'm going to tell you, listen, the sky is this color. This is how you're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. And what we're essentially talking about today is maturity. There are some conversations that are just not going to go over well if we aren't mature enough to recognize the priorities and recognize the goals and accept them, right? Because your wife could have been like, "No, I'm not taking your mom's ring. You better go out there and go to Jared and get me something, serious. Like we're not about to do that." She could have done that, and I have
Mm-hmm.
seen people
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have seen people do that. So I'm not just talking about something that's just that I'm just guessing about. I've witnessed these kinds of conversations. We're like, nah, you're not about to do that. You better invest. And here's the thing. Here's where many people make the mistake because the person says to them, "Well, if you care about me the way you said you do, you would want to invest in me." What? at the expense of what we trying to do? Does that even make sense to you? like think about that for a second. I understand what you're saying. If you think I'm important enough to you to invest, that I would invest to you, I get that. But do you understand what you're asking me to do? You're asking me to make an investment in you at the expense of stuff that's important to us. And that cannot make sense to you,
Or can it?
or can it?
Again, these are these signs that I think we need to recognize and understand what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
because these are if you can't agree on these really blaring things, these are red flags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
um because these are not things that are not, they're just going to go away with this event or this occasion, this situation. These are ideologies, these are ways of thinking, these are
Mm-hmm.
mindsets. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about the as it relates to finances, sacrifice, the discipline, and responsibility. These are mindsets. This is something that is not just an event that you're going to use, that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to use these in. This is going to be the way in which you perceive events when they come, as it relates to finances
Mm-hmm.
and in relationships. These three mindsets, these three attitudes run through right through that relationship,
Yep.
in the midst of that relationship. And when they come up, though, is when it comes to time when you have to address a financial decision that's going to impact not just one or the other, but you as a collective group, as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
If you're unable to, if you see this, you got to be able to see it as a red flag and go like, hold on, this is not going to be a thing that we can sustain long term.
Yep. And
This
what I tell,
you
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
finish your statement.
No, I was just saying, this is just something that's an event, that's an
Mm-hmm.
indicator that this is not going to be something that's sustainable.
Yep. And that's why it's important what you said earlier, that what we should be doing is using these events prior as a way to investigate and find out information. Because if you're, so like, for example, we're married. In the dating process, you should be looking at how you navigate these days and what's the ideology around these days. Because what I often tell couples that are dating is that flags don't change colors. And a lot of people don't like when I say that. Flags don't change colors. They don't. They just don't. They may fade over time in the sun and that kind of thing, but a red flag is a red flag. Period.
I think I think I, I think people don't see them as red flags, though. That's the problem.
And that's the thing. Sometimes they
They
don't
don't see
see
them
it
as
as red,
red flags.
or they see it as a red flag, but they ignore it. I can't tell you how many countless people see something, but in their mind they justify why it can continue based
Well, that
on the fact
yeah,
that,
but that yeah, but that's not seeing what a red flag is.
well, and I hear you, but I'm
Yeah,
telling you, some people, they know that it's sketchy. Some people they're oblivious. They're just like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention. There's some people who know, if you ask them to be dead honest. There's some people who are like, yeah, that's sketchy, but, and as soon as they say but, in their mind, what they're doing now is figuring out a way to ignore that.
I'm gonna look back, and I can look back in my dating processes,
Hmm.
and I can honestly say that some of the challenges that we've had, I did not recognize them.
Hmm. Hmm.
I did not recognize them, but they were, if in hindsight, I can see them now.
Right. And,
But
and and that happens to a lot of people.
at the time, I couldn't see for the forest. I couldn't see the trees for the forest.
Hmm.
I
And
couldn't.
that happens to a lot of people.
And it's because of the desire that I wanted to be married.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
be honest with you, it was like, and I couldn't see. If you would have said to me no, that ain't no problem.
Hmm.
That ain't no, at the time, that ain't no problem.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah. So and people typically fall into a couple categories. One is that what you just described, right? For whatever reason, whether it's infatuation, whether it's the desire to be married, whether it's, man, all I can see is this person's looks and I'm just blown away, whatever it is, there are people who just don't recognize it until later on. And then
Mhm.
there's people who they recognize it, but they find ways to justify it so that they can keep going, right? So they see it. So, like, for example, using you, right? There's things that you did not recognize because of your desire to be married.
Mhm.
There's some people who recognize it, but because of their desire to be married, they figure out a way to justify it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they one and the same. I mean, to be honest with you, I think they
Mhm.
one and the same
But I
because
think
it's
yours though,
rational, huh?
I think yours though is, if to if we want to use this word, I think yours is more excusable than the second because you didn't recognize it. Now, if you said, "Hey, you know what? I saw these things and I was like, yeah, that's a problem, but I want to be married." Then I could be like, "Okay, bruh, like that's on you."
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean? Like,
and that's the thing that I'm saying because the end result
end result is the same.
is going to be the same.
End result is the same. Yeah.
And I think back, and I'm going like the end result does either way. There's going to be some hurdles
Hmm.
that you're going to have to get over,
Yeah. Yeah.
and whether or not you knew them or not are not going to make them hurdles any harder
I
or
agree with that.
easier, any
I agree with
easier.
that. I agree with that.
And the fact that you knew it going in, that might make it a little harder.
Now, here's what here's what you increase the chances of if you knew it going in. If you knew it going in and you chose to ignore it, what you increase the chances of down the road is becoming resentful.
Yes, that's the point I'm saying, which makes it more hard. It makes it harder
Right.
because
And
now it's
that's a
like
difficult hole to crawl out from.
absolutely because you're talking about now. I knew it and I put myself in this hole
Right.
anyway.
Right. And then what you do is you blame yourself and you end up hating the other person.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I that I've been there on
Hmm.
other situations in life,
Hmm.
whereas that you can't blame nobody but you, and ain't
Hmm.
nothing you can do about it.
Hmm.
Nothing you can do about it, and that's not a good space to be in
Yeah.
because you got to walk around in your skin every day.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why it's important. I think it's really important that as we're talking about, and Valentine's Day is just a fitting day to do that, right? We're not picking on Valentine's Day. Enjoy. We hope you enjoyed your day today. We hope that you were showered with love. We hope that you are in a space where you are appreciated and valued and acknowledged and validated. We want that for you. This is just a good day to talk about the importance of money and its effect on relationships, and the fact that you have to make wise choices, and sometimes those choices are going to be for the good of the team over the celebration of the event.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and and that just it just is what it is. Like, that's just something you just have to accept.
And to be honest with you, and okay, we're gonna keep it straight up 100 here now
Hmm.
because you got people fighting on yesterday
Hmm.
and expecting to make something miraculous on today,
Brother.
and yet it's about as non it's not genuine. It's
Yep.
disingenuous.
Hmm.
And let's be real, you know, I'm putting on a show
Hmm. Hmm.
because it ain't really in me, but it's expected of me.
Mm. And you have just categorized a ton of relationships
Hey, I'm
because
100.
there was fighting on the 13th and there's going to be fighting on the 15th. but
And
but
right
on
there
the
in the middle is
14th,
this.
right, on the 14th, however I approach the 14th, now the rest of my relationship will be evaluated on that. And so, because I don't want to deal with any more than what I know I'm already going to deal with on the 15th, let me go ahead and shell out this money at the expense of whatever else might be important. And
And
that is a key indicator, ladies and gentlemen, that your relationship is already in trouble. Forget about Valentine's Day. You got other work to do.
but I tell you, it's an indicator though,
Yep.
because if you can't be authentic in the day, in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about authenticity in here all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about getting to that space. And then this day, if you can't be authentic, and this day,
Mm-hmm.
it's this day of expression of love,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't be real to yourself at the same time as being one that's presented or receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, because you got somebody also sitting over there talking about, I'm gonna take this, but I know he don't mean it.
Mm. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And that speaks to, this is a whole nother conversation in and of itself, but
But it's all wrapped up.
it is wrapped up. And that speaks to the unfortunate thing that has happened to many of us in society, is that we allow societal norms and social constructs to dictate how we navigate our relationships. You should not be waiting till February 14th to shower your mate and acknowledge and validate and show love to. You shouldn't be doing that. That just happens to be, again, a very commercialized outpouring of something that you should be doing, period. Like, it just should be a part of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we do that in a lot of areas, and many societal norms and social constructs govern how we manage our own personal lives. And it should be the other way around. The way you manage and govern your personal life should now be the lens that you look through when you get to these, when you have to deal with these societal norms and social constructs.
Mm-hmm. And it's repeated every year, year
Indeed.
after year, and we
Indeed.
find ourselves in a deeper hole
Hmm.
year after year without acknowledging that what's happening.
Yeah.
That's
And
what's happening.
yeah, and that's how money, and and that's how money becomes a significant piece. Listen, all of the stuff that you've been getting over the last couple of weeks, the stuff that Juan has been sharing, if you're incorporating that into your life, you don't even have to worry about these things like Valentine's Day and Christmas and all these other things, because you would have already developed a mindset that allows you to move through these spaces in a healthy way. So, what you probably need to do is go back and listen to the last several weeks and get an idea of what you should be doing in the way of commitment and in the way of prioritization and budgeting and uh, understanding the cost benefit analysis and developing your discipline in a way that allows you to be responsible and being willing to sacrifice for the things that are your priorities. Go back and check all that stuff out, and that will help in terms of how money affects relationships. Because what you want is, you want money to now be a catalyst for the enhancement of your relationship, and not a detriment to your relationship.
Absolutely. That is absolutely what this is all about. It's being able to understand that you manage your money so that you can manage your relationships.
Hmm.
They work together. You can't you can't operate one without the other.
Hmm.
And it's how you bring them together so that there's an agreement. And you said something, man, it reminds me of, we talked about commitment.
Hmm.
There's a commitment that's required in this relationship,
Yep.
just as there's a commitment in it relates to your finances. You've got to bring those two commitments together.
Yeah,
they've got to come together for this thing to work.
they do. And let me leave you with something practical, right? For those of you who want something very practical to come out of this. Here's what this looks like, right? Here's what this commitment, this sacrifice, this discipline, this responsibility looks like. Let's say, for example, Valentine's Day is important to you. And that's fine. Let's say it is important to you. Hey, listen, I want to take a trip somewhere. I want to go to the best restaurant. I want to do whatever it is. And that's fine. Let's say it's important to you. Here's how you go about that. Get with your mate and say, "Hey, listen, let's create a plan. Let's prioritize in our budgeting. Let's look at our cost benefit analysis. This is how we would like to celebrate these days. This is how I would like to celebrate my birthday. This is how I would like to celebrate Valentine's Day. And here's what we're going to do for the next 5 years. We're going to dig our heels in, and we're not going to spend no extra money, and we're going to save, and we're going to create these uh luxury accounts, and we're going to put savings in them, and we're going to do all these types of things. And then let's call it 5 to 7 years, and then we know that we have put ourselves in a position with investments and all of these other things that after that period we're going to start celebrating those days the way we want to. Because here's the thing, you have to put in sacrifice in anything you do, right? If I want to lose weight, I don't just lose weight tomorrow. I have to put some work in, right? So if I want to say, hey, listen, there's this suit that I want to wear, I don't just put the suit on today. I start working. Hey, if I work hard for the next 3 to 6 to 9, 12, 15 months, man, I'm going to be ready to put that suit on. And then we're going to go wear the suit where we want to. So now incorporate that into the things that you look forward to, so that you can create strategy around the things that you look forward to. Because if it's important to you, it doesn't mean you have to ignore it, but you may have to plan for it.
That planning is that commitment. That's that ongoing dedication, persistence that allows you to gather the goals and maintain the things that you need to do in the process. I mean, just last week when we talked, we were talking about homes and where you're going to live, and talking
Hmm.
about, relationships are just like a home, one that you've purchased, or it should be even one that you're renting. You got to maintain it,
Hmm.
and it's not cheap, but my point is that if you plan for it,
Hmm.
you plan like you just said, you know it might not be 5 years, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's a
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. It's your commitment that you put towards it that brings it to pass.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if yours is 4 years and mine is 5 years. Don't compare it. Just look at what's right for you. Look at numbers, don't lie.
Yep. And then
Numbers
in the
don't lie.
meantime, this is the last thing I'll say. In the meantime, while you're creating, because I'm going to add to the practicality of what I just said. In the meantime, while you're doing that, while you're working your plan, do not allow that to keep you from doing things that will show validation and show love and show commitment and honor and respect. Because those things, there are things you can do that show those things every day that don't cost you nothing.
It's called
So don't
service.
so don't be like, oh well, we're not even going to be able to love on each other for the next 7 years. No, no, no. Because if that's the case, when you do get to the 7 year mark, it don't matter how much money you have. You ain't gonna like each other anyway. So it
Ain't
don't
that
even
the
matter.
truth? Ain't that
So
the
while
truth?
you're planning, make sure that you are learning that person's love language and you're speaking it every day. Make sure that you are showing them love. Make sure that you are listening to them. Make sure you're communicating with them. Make sure that you are quick to resolve conflict and that you are validating their feelings and that you are affirming them. And whatever it is that they need and you need in order to grow intimacy and grow your bond, because that's just going to intensify the anticipation of what's going to be on the
Mm,
back end of your plan.
absolutely. You put it perfectly. Perfectly. That's exactly what this is all about. You've made love practical. You've made love practical. You just showed the practical application of love. And that's in an eight, inevitably exactly what this is all about. That's what this is all about. Making it real.
Yep.
And and I'm telling you, to serve one another, it's free. And I'm telling you, in the process of doing that, man, it is going to build something that you would have never, no money can ever give you what you can build through service.
Hmm. That's it.
Nothing. And if we were to identify service as Valentine's Day as a day of service, serve one another,
Hmm.
serve one another. It will be a day to remember.
Yeah, I
Man.
love it. That's good.
Hey, as you saw, this is a recording, and we hope that you have you're able to share with your comments, and allow us to give you a chance to give you some feedback from your comments. But we really hope you have can take something away from this, that can help you on this day, that can make you, if you're in the situation where you're not out there, um, and you don't have anybody to spend it with this time, that you'll be prepared for the next time when it comes around, and know that it's not something that should break you. Should be something that really solidifies and reinforces what you're already doing.
Hmm.
And so, with that being said, Oliver, let people know where they can find you.
Indeed, if you're a social media person, social media handle is right there on the screen. Denali LLC everywhere on social media. If you are an email person, feel free to email me at the email on your screen, and you can visit the website, which is denali.org. Very passionate about seeing relationships thrive, as you could probably tell from this 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 episode. But that is my life's goal to uh, help relationships thrive, both personally and professionally. And so, if that is something that you strive to do, uh, check us out and contact me. Let's have a conversation.
Hey, already. He is a strategic partner of Clear Journey. So by all means, look for him. Look and search him out if you have need for relationship coaching. And myself, I'm the founder of Clear Journey, where our desire is to help you navigate life successfully. That's it. If you have a challenge, you're looking for support, looking for encouragement, we're here to give you all the tools necessary in all areas of life. We're talking about everything. If it's finances, if it's relationships, if it's healthy lifestyle, if it's career development, if it is self improvement, organization, recreation, if it is all about life, is what we do at Clear Journey. We cover it all. And so we want to be able to give you not only the attitude, but also the practical application. And this was a prime example of how we bring all of those things together, so that you can not only see it in a concept, but we can actually realize it in our daily lives. I'm the author of a book that's really the foundation of what we do here, and it's called Love Made Simple: The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And if you'd like to support us and help us in this mission, pick up a copy of it. It's on Audible, and it's also on Amazon. It is really the foundation. It's the love made simple, the attitudes necessary to navigate life successfully. And you can reach me at info@clearjourney.org if you have some questions that we can help you navigate. By all means, reach out to me. Look forward to being able to assist you in anything that we possibly can. We will be having, just to touch base on it, we will be having a webinar in April. It's going to be our financial webinar. It's protecting your finances in April. So look forward to seeing more information about that coming up soon. And just register. It's free to come, and we're going to be talking about how you can protect. We talked about how you acquire and maintain and manage it, but then we're going to be talking about how to protect your finances in April. So we look forward to seeing you there. But as always, we appreciate you spending your time with us. And like I said, we can't change life, but we can surely help you navigate it. So until next time, we look forward to seeing you then. Talk to you then.
Later.